Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hello, and thank you for joining me in this video. Glad to see everyone out there is enjoying life. Hope you are, at least, anyhow. As joyful as possible. We are continuing through the audio book for Terry Miles's novel Rabbits, and let's push forward.
Notes on the game. Missive by Hazel. Authenticated by blockchain.
Yes, the blockchain. When did this come out? This came out in 2021. Interesting. So yeah, that's back when the whole NFTs and what is the other, the Bitcoin crap and all that stuff. All those grifters were out there. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what blockchain is. So, and if you do, let me know in the comments. I'm not really clear exactly on what it is. If you want to, put it in the comments below. And I don't know. Please don't fry me for being ignorant. If you do. So let's continue.
Gaming disorder is defined by the World Health Organization as a pattern of gaming behavior characterized by impaired control, to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other interests and daily activities.
Yeah, I've known people like that. I know people that have had to actually go to counseling for this very thing. I know people that have almost lost their marriage because of gaming.
And continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. Negative consequences are real. Don't forget to hydrate. And remember to tell somebody where you're going when you leave the house to follow a strange clue that nobody else believes.
Yeah, now, as far as Rabbit's universe, it's probably the stakes are probably a little bit higher than they are in our universe for having a gaming addiction. So yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's. I was going to say something, but I couldn't figure out how to word it without it sounding just really cruel. So I'm going to skip it.
Is a clue. Be careful out there. Hazel 8. Chapter 3. If you listen carefully, you can totally hear the rhubarb.
Yeah, the rhubarb.
There were 395 white tiles on the floor and 400 black. It took me 21 steps to get to the booth. 2 professional sports teams of some kind were playing celebrity dodgeball.
And see, I have been in places waiting for things to pick up, drop off, or just watching or whatever. And I've done that. I've counted tiles and ceiling tiles and lights, and yeah, I've been there. I've done that, counting steps.
The small television that hung above the milkshake machine. There was a neon green Dodge Challenger visible outside on the street. Dodge.
Dodge, you know. But yeah, I A lot of Chrysler products just have some really, really weird names. But, I believe Dodge. Dodge might be its own thing. I can't remember now. Brain just silly putty locked up.
Alan Scarpio smiled and waved his fork in the air. Can you believe this place? Yeah, it's pretty great. I got you coffee, he said.
Sounds like Scorpio may have a bit of an accent. I never read the accent in the book.
Nodding to an off-white ceramic cup sitting on the table in front of me. Thanks. I slid into the worn vinyl booth.
Yeah, it looks like we're back to we did the backstory of how Kay got into rabbits. Now we're into the current story.
It was an old diner from the 1950s, located directly across the street from the Magician's Arcade.
There's actually a couple of retro diners in Houston that are that way that are really good.
It was exactly the kind of place you might hear referred to as a joint or a greasy spoon.
Mm-hmm. We've got a couple really, really good places like that in Huntsville. Though they're not that 50s style, they're more of a retro 90s-ish type thing. But they still have really good food.
There were tiny jukeboxes on the tables in each of the booths.
Hey, I remember those from like the 80s. Pizza Hut had the little jukeboxes that were like just loud enough for the booth area. I remember those.
I think a few of them actually still worked. I couldn't believe I was sitting across from Alan Scarpio, one of the richest men in the world.
Yeah, there's some really cool fan art. If you do Rabbits fan art, Scorpio, or Richard Scorpio, there's some really, really cool fan art out there.
Watching him devour a piece of rhubarb pie. Dodgeball. Was that woman in the back of the diner wearing an LA Dodgers baseball cap?
Relevance?
Groups of tiles on the wall. 4, 15, 7, 5. Numbers corresponding to the letters in the word.
That's right. Kay is one of those puzzle people, the brain that makes puzzles falls repetition, patterns, and I forgot about that.
Dodge. I was nervous. As a kid, whenever I felt anxious, I found myself unable to stop picking out patterns, often to the point that I became incapable of focusing my attention on anything else.
Ooh, I do that though. When I get nervous or anxiety stuff, my brain retreats to things that I've read, books that I've read over and over and over, like Stranger in a Strange Land by Heinlein, Flow My Tears, The Policeman Said by Philip K. Dick, Dark Tower series by Stephen King, stuff like that. My brain just retreats into those stories when I get stressed or anxious or something interesting.
As these bouts of anxiety became more intense and frequent, I was forced to develop certain coping mechanisms in order to deal with the stress. The majority of these involved repeating familiar patterns from memory. The most effective involved tennis.
A sport that I've actually played tennis, not professionally or anything, just with friends. We know nothing about the scoring, so we just kind of made up our own scoring, and it always de-evolved into who could hit the tennis ball the hardest and the fastest. But yeah, and I've also done golf. Golf is a really good drinking game, assuming that you're not actually trying to golf. But yeah. Tennis is just one of those things that and if I remember correctly, it does have a relevance into the story. Spoiler alert.
I've always loved tennis. I can recall entire matches with remarkable clarity.
Eidetic memory.
I'm able to do the same thing with baseball games and horror movie dialogue. But when it came to...
I can do that. There are books that I can do that with. I can pull up specific page, line, character things. I can do that with certain books. It's just how the eidetic part of our memory works, how we've trained it over the years. Like I said, everyone has an eidetic memory. It's just our ability to consciously recall information that's stored there.
My homemade brand of pattern recall therapy, tennis was always the most effective. One of my favorite matches was the 2001 U.S. Open quarterfinals match between Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi. On my legs, I would tap once for each player. Sampras on my left knee, Agassi on my right. I visualized every single shot, every serve and point, and eventually, whatever was making me anxious would lose its potency.
And yeah, that's the way it is with me. When I retreat into my books, there's some comics that I can do that too. I can retreat into those and pull up the panels of the comic in my brain in wonderful detail. But yeah, it's the same thing. The more you do it, whatever is causing or giving you the stress kind of subsides. So with that, we'll go ahead and call this video good. And until next time, be a good human. Be good to other humans. Peace.
Hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?